Let's turn now to Rob Enderle. He's a veteran tech analyst and president of the Enderle Group. He joins us now from Mountain View, California with his outlook. Rob, welcome back to Bloomberg News. Always good to see you.
Good to be here.
Rob, a lot of people are asking, I guess it's the question of the day, can this live up to the hype?
Probably not. Nothing could live up to this hype. Even if it was made out of fairy wings and ran on pixie dust, it wouldn't make it.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, people tend to overset expectations with regard to particularly Apple products. And while this is a good offering, it's not a perfect offering. It's a first-generation product. I think when we look back from the third-generation product to this one, much like we look back on the early iPods, we'll see an awful lot of change and improvement over the next couple of years.
And tell our viewers what they'll see if they have this, if they purchase one of these. What can they expect to get?
Well, limited content, at least initially, but they'll be able to get videos, movies, books, a very small number of applications initially, and then, of course, as I say, over the next year, 2 years, that'll improve dramatically. But it's the first device that's kind of like an e-book reader that does multimedia. A number of us are calling this kind of the third generation e-book, a combination of media types. But it's I mean, for what it is, it's actually fairly advanced.
So talk to us about this announcement from Apple that fans who want to get the new touchscreen gadget shipped directly to them are going to have to wait a week. What about that delay?
Well, they're doing a slow launch, and slow launches are done primarily when you don't have a big beta test, and Apple doesn't do beta tests, and because you're concerned that you might get some breakage. And remember, with every iPhone drop, they've had some significant problems. By doing small volumes like this, they can get their arms around the problems, and when they start to really ramp, which probably won't be until the late third or fourth quarter, when people really start buying these in large volumes, then they'll have all the problems fixed.
Rob, about what's the expectation for sales here? Have you been hearing any numbers?
Well, I've been hearing a lot of numbers. I'm holding to my initial forecast, which is between 4 and 6 million. But realize there's an awful lot of risk with these numbers, both up and down, because the competitive landscape isn't defined yet, and the big volume months are late third and fourth quarter. So we've got an awful lot of activity that is yet to be seen.
And that segues nicely into my next question. I was going to ask you about what type of competitive dynamics are going to be at play here, the iPad versus Nook, Kindle, e-reader.
Well, yeah, it's really the next generation Kindle that we're watching very closely. It's supposed to have a more advanced display than the iPad does, clearly have Amazon's back end as well. Just a question now whether it'll reach the market in time, but that's probably the one to watch. We also have the Notion Ink Atom that's coming to market out of Israel. A very powerful product from a standpoint of platform, but as yet lacks the back end and the partnerships it needs to really compete. But in terms of hardware, probably closer to the second generation iPad. So those are a couple products you know about. Oh, and Dell's got their 5-inch product coming to market shortly as well, and it's kind of more of an extension on the iPhone and a blend of a smartphone and a pad, which could also be interesting.
Is the price going to be an issue?
The price is the issue right now. These products typically sell well as they approach $200, sell very poorly over $500. Much like we saw with the iPhone, it is likely that Apple's going to have to take a pricing action to hit the volumes they want.
Rob, talk to me about similarities between this and the launch of the iPhone.
Well, in many ways, very similar. The iPhone was announced long before it was made available. In the case of the iPhone, when it was first showcased, it didn't work. In this case, the iPad actually was a working prototype. But delivery is about the same. There is some carrier connection, much like there was with AT&T. AT&T is with this one as well for the 3G version. But outside of that, this is actually closer to a large iPod Touch than it is to the iPhone.
So at some point, even with the launch of the iPad, as you and our viewers recall, the sales picked up once it was launched, and then the price was cut.
Yeah, with the iPhone, the iPhone came out high. Remember, it came out over $500, and they quickly dropped the price underneath that to get volumes back. At over $500 price cap, you know, between $500 and $1,000 is a really tough place to move product in this category.
Rob Enderle, president of the Enderle Group, joining us to talk about the iPad. Rob, always good to talk to you. Thanks.